Hello and welcome to StarCast from Planet Waves. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino, your friendly neighborhood astrologer, reporting in from Kingston, New York, a little past 3 o'clock on the 30th day of May, 2024. Welcome to our program. So today I'm going to talk about the conjunction of Mars and Chiron, which is happening right now, and how active Mars is and will continue to be, and then get into a bit about the even bigger Chiron conjunction to Eris, which is brewing now and which will be exact next year. Before I get into that, just a little bit of housekeeping. There will not be a Planet Waves FM tomorrow night. I've got the show on a 1 to 2 week break to catch up. It's been a very intense spring of reporting all of these campus incidents and bouncing around the state. And so I'm going to take a little time to myself for the next couple of Fridays. What else? So we are currently offering as pre-sale, the Trust Yourself readings. This is the first mid-year reading in 2 years. We didn't do one last year. And this is an astrological meditation and motivational presentation on the concept of trusting yourself, based on my theory that all trust begins with self-trust, and we are in a serious deficit of trust right now. It's one of the most serious problems that we are facing is no one knows who or what to trust, or quote, who or what to believe. I maintain you should believe absolutely nothing. In any event, the Trust Yourself readings will be out sometime in the first half of July. And we are putting double sign sales. We do two for the price of one, because I think everybody's got to have two. So instead of selling one, I just include two with that. So you can get your sun, your moon, sun, rising, you, partner, something else for the price of one sign. And then we've got the Cancer reading on pre-sale. Art is everything. Photo featuring part of my cup collection. Come over, I'll make you tea in one of my many handmade cups. It is one of my happiest pragmatic hobbies, is collecting handmade, basically stoneware, pottery, and various different things, but mostly cups and bowls. So you've got a couple of my cups in that picture. I have Cancer rising, so that would make sense that one of my hobbies would be collecting cups and bowls. It's a great hobby. I can't get enough. I just need more covered space. And I think that's, in terms of housekeeping, that is about it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you to my subscribers for making sure that we can cover the costs of, make a little money on all of this wonderful stuff that we do. All right, let's talk about Mars and Mars conjunct Chiron. So we are in an extended big moment of Mars being very active in the sky. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when a planet is making a lot of contacts to other planets, I would call that very active, and the contacts Mars is making are conjunctions. So recently, for example, Mars crossed over the north node of the moon. That's exciting. Mars then crossed over the degree of the eclipse on 4/8. That is like a planet that will be staying right there at 19.5 degrees of Aries, more or less forever. So big eclipses get a permanent mark placed in the chart, and those degrees can be active for a long time, like not 6 months, more like 15, 20 years. You can still see old eclipses from the turn of the century coming up. Today, the 9/11 eclipse. There were 2 eclipses connected to 9/11. Those degrees pop up, and then other ones as well. So Mars crossed over the 4/8 eclipse degree recently, and today Mars is conjunct Chiron at 22 and change of Aries, and then Mars will later next week, be conjunct Eris at 25 and change. So with Chiron and Eris, that's how you say it, at 3 degrees apart, that means a conjunction is happening, and that conjunction will be exact in May. Now, this is a big deal. It'll be continually, the conjunction lasts a lot longer than May. It's May 25 well into 2026. And the Mars making conjunctions to Eris, Chiron first today, and then Eris next week, emphasizes the point that Chiron and Eris are going to be conjunct, and this is really a very important epochal, epochal, epochal event. It has not happened since 7071, which means the very late 60s and early 70s were under the influence of Mars conjunct Chiron, and then it takes about 60 years to come back, and we are back at that. And so my sense is that we are still dealing with the obsession with identity politics of Chiron entering Aries last time around, where the civil rights and anti-war movement split up into 20-plus different factions, everything from the ecological movement to Puerto Rican rights to gay rights to women's rights to students' rights and everything like this. And suddenly everyone started to see their interests as separate. That has not worked very well. Now, focusing on the conjunction of Mars conjunct Chiron, I wrote a whole essay about this today. Probably could say a lot more about this, but with a conjunction, you have two influences working together. And the influence of Mars is essentially the desire nature. Mars is what asserts itself against the world. Mars is capable of wanting. Mars is about desire. Now, this is often conflated with exclusively sexual desire, and it's also conflated with exclusively sexual desire in male-bodied people. That's not true. All men and all women and all children and all canaries have Venus and Mars in their charts. A question of how it expresses. Some women have very strong Mars, some men don't. And it has nothing to do with what sex one is born. It has to do with the expression of the planet, though there are environmental factors packed around that can say it is more or less appropriate. For example, for a man to ask a woman on a date. And this has been an endless kind of simmering controversy. Shall a woman ask a man out on a date? Well, we seem to have solved that problem by having determined that no one can ask anyone on a date, or else it's some form of sexual harassment. So with that being what it is and 50 other problems like it, we are in a crisis of Venus and Mars. And part of that crisis is the ongoing demonization of all things that are said to be masculine in their expression. And this is a problem because there's lots and lots of things that are masculine in their expression that are not toxic, but it seems like the concept of toxic masculine has replaced the concept of masculine as the only form of masculinity that there is, and that is not true. This is just ongoing hate speech. It is ongoing propaganda. But as I said in the article, if I said everything that women do is repugnant and disgusting, you would say, oh, what a misogynist. And if I said everything gay people do is repugnant and disgusting, you would say, oh, there's a homophobe for you. And if I said if everything trans people do and say is repugnant and disgusting, you'd say, well, that guy's a real transphobe. But if I say everything men do is repugnant and disgusting, that's just trendy. And I think we need to see this hypocrisy for what it is, call it out, and stop playing this game. It is a dangerous cultural game. It is dangerous because it is making many things that are good and right and beautiful and that we depend upon and rely upon and need into something bad that for some reason we're all supposed to hate and think is disgusting. For example, when a woman looks at something, she's just looking at something. When a woman looks at a man, that's just a woman looking at a man. If a man looks at a woman, that's the evil male gaze, which, by the way, is a theory of cinema. It's not a social theory. It's something allegedly from the movies that has been appropriated and said to basically be about any man looking at any woman. This is ridiculous. And it is, first of all, more example of how we are living in a kind of existence of approximations, assumptions, and substitutes. Is that AAS or is it ASS? And further, it is evidence of the polarity that society is in that inevitably results in various forms of prejudice and just being inhumane. And I'm suggesting that we take a look at this under the influence of Mars conjunct Chiron. So I've done my best. I wrote this article this morning, of course, after much thought, many years of thought. I happen to have Mars conjunct Chiron in my chart. If you're ever wondering about the interesting way that I express my maleness, well, part of that intrigue is I have Mars and Chiron in a conjunction in the distinctly feminine sign of Pisces, though Mars does have dignity in Pisces as the night ruler of the water signs, but still, Pisces is pretty sweet and feminine, and I've got this conjunction of male warriorship, of warriorship generally in Pisces, splat on my midheaven. It is the thing that expresses the most distinctly in my chart. So I have done many reviews and thoughtful analysis and studied my Chiron transits and strive to understand, for me personally, what it means to participate in society as a man and to be in a male body, as I often jokingly say, being 49% female. So that's my expression of Mars conjunct Chiron in Pisces. Now we've got Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries. We have a lot of Aries problems these days, and one of the Aries problems is the complete splattering, shattering, and dissociating of nearly any coherent concept of I am under the influence of what I would call the digital gaze. That is to say, the influence of digital as being this thing that turns essentially everything into a kaleidoscopic vision of some kind, where there's not really possible to have any well-assembled sense of who one is. So in the midst of all this chaos and largely induced mental, emotional chaos, fragmentation, and destabilization, how is it possible to have any idea who you are? Well, first of all, you have to care. You have to really want to know, kind of like you want to breathe if you had a plastic bag over your head. And second, you have to be observant of yourself. And being observant means looking at the world and noticing your prejudices as the first step toward doing something about them. And I think where Mars is concerned, knowing when you're projecting your Mars outward. When are you blaming someone else for your Mars? When are you saying, that person's really horny? That's disgusting. What about you? That's a lot of what Mars is known for, and by the way, in our world, is wanting sex. Of course, without Mars, basically nothing gets done. And through long periods of history, unless men proposed dates, or men proposed marriage, or men proposed something in the framework of courtly desire, male-female, romantic, sexual desire, nothing much would have happened. So there are now, I think, part of the gradual, slow evolution of society is women learning how to express desires. But part of women learning how to express desires is going to be to stop blaming men for their desire. You have to own your Mars. You have to own your Venus. You have to own all your planets. Unless you own all your planets, you give them away to someone else. All right, so I've gone off long about that for a long time. Now, a couple of other bits in the chart. There is one especially exciting aspect that is brewing right now. I don't know what it's going to be about, but it is Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Mercury's at 23 degrees 20. Uranus, as I call it, to avoid the Uranus. Right? Let's say that. But now we're not going to have Venus conjunct Uranus. We're going to have Mercury, who's a little, as William Lilly wrote in 1647, neither masculine nor feminine in expression. Mercury is androgynous. So androgynous Mercury is going to make a conjunction to the lightning bolt, revolutionary, first planet ever discovered by science in 1781, Uranus, also called Herschel. That's why it's got an H as the shape. Also called Prometheus, who stole fire and brought it to the human race. So we got a little bit of that Mercury, Uranus stealing fire in the form of ideas and words and bringing it to the human race. That's us. That's we who are often stuck in our highly limited, paradigmatic thinking, these thought boxes that we have a hard time getting out of. Well, a little Mercury Prometheus should help with that. Okay, so I am now officially done with my work week. I'm very happy to not have to do Planet Waves FM, though. Thank you for all of you who not only support planetwaves.net, Planet Waves Substack, the other Substack, the one with the green banner with the centaur and Achilles and the bow and arrow that says Chiron Return presents Planet Waves FM. That Substack, thank you for supporting that Substack. That one has quite a few subscribers, and it's very helpful. Helps us pay all the bills. This is really what Planet Waves is about. If I were here to get rich, there's a lot of things that I would do, and what I am here to do is put the very best of my work, my thought, my ideas into the hands of as many people who want and need it as I possibly can. So in any way you participate, you support that. And again, I thank you. Have a lovely weekend, the last weekend in May, and I plan to be back with you next week. Thanks for listening. Lots of love. And as the old Grateful Dead hotline used to say, stay in touch.